I'm Alan Hallett. It's my incredible honor to be the superintendent here at Coal Valley Christian School. Let me open in prayer, and then I'll do a few introductions and kind of at least tell you how the evening is going to go. Our goal is to be out of here in an hour. I said that to the elementary last night, and they asked too many questions, so we didn't hit the hour. No, there's not too many questions. We will definitely have great opportunity for questions for you guys to ask those, okay? So join me. Father, I just thank you for the unbelievable opportunity we have to be in your presence. Father, that you sent your son to die for us and give us the opportunity to be reconciled to you. And we get to live in community, partnering together to be able to raise up young people that are going to follow and pursue you. And hopefully, we pray, impact this world for Christ. So I pray you be present today. We want your will to be done in this school. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So, just real quickly, here is how we do questions this evening. So if you have a phone, which last time we had a phone and we had 3x5 cards, and 0 people took the 3x5 cards. So we didn't provide you 3x5 cards this evening. So you'll need to scan this, and that'll take you directly to where you can ask questions. You will not have this scan until, again, at the end of the presentation, okay? So even if you scan it now, at least it'll be on your phone if you want to ask questions during the time. You can send the questions anytime. The people in the back, I actually have them up here if it works correctly. I will, if I think they're relevant to what we're doing then, I'll try to answer some of those questions as we go, or I'll wait later toward the end to answer some of those questions, okay? If I think they are good questions for the entire group, I will do the best I can to answer those, okay? I will also tell you if I don't know the answer. There were a couple of those last night that were tougher questions, and I'm sure you have some that I might not know the answer to. Just because I'm the head guy does not mean I have all the answers. I learned that a long time ago. And we still teach teachers, one of the best things to do when you're teaching a class and you're doing something and you get up there and you go like that and a kid asks you a question, it's okay to say, I don't know, let's figure that out together. And so because we're in community, we can do that. So I appreciate your patience with that. And we really want to have great questions. We want to grow as a community. Tonight really is me giving you a large overview of what's going on as a school, some celebrations for sure, even that little video. Every one of us, I think, looks for our kid's face. I even saw my kiddo who graduated last year, I think, on the first science one. He would think that's funny. And it's exciting to be able to see what is going on. So let me do a few introductions of people that are in the room, just so you know who they are. I know we have at least one board member, Jason Warner, who's our vice president. Would you just kind of show him who you are? You don't have to clap. I just want you guys to know the people that are in here. Kim DeMaine, high school principal, is back there in the hallway like usual because she's always like working and doing stuff while she's doing other stuff. There's Kim DeMaine. Brian Goodbar is over here, our middle school principal. Let's see, we have Rachel Brown, our director of admissions. I saw her come in. Over there. In the booth, I've got Eric Abeg and David Ains, our Director of Facility Safety and our Director of Technology. Tabitha Epler is our HR coordinator. Tabitha, you have to raise your hand. I know. There you go. Lori is my assistant, who really is the person that directs me here, and then my wife directs me at home, but she's not here. Who else? Is there any other directors in here? Was Keena in here? Oh, of course, she's standing in the hallway. Keena Rich is our director of advancement. We just call her the party. That's pretty much what she does. She puts parties on, and we enjoy those. Okay, let's get started then. I'm gonna read a few things verbatim because I really want us to hear those. This is the first thing we read every single board member, every single board time. Okay, the only reason we exist to serve Jesus Christ by developing the whole person through a Christ-centered education. That's why we exist as a school. Our mission statement: partnering with Christian families to shepherd and challenge students toward their individual potential to impact the world for Christ. I want to break this down a little bit. If you've been to some of these before, you've heard me break this down. I'm going to do it again. Because what we do, especially when we hear questions like, are we staying to our culture? Are we being who we say we're going to be? We go back to this. We go back and make sure that the elements that are about our mission statement is what we're staying true to, okay? So first, partnership. We believe that God gave parents the responsibility to educate their children. Therefore, we are serving parents by providing an education that aligns with your beliefs and values. We are not a replacement for the church, but a supplemental support in partnership with the church for equipping our young people. Second part, shepherding and challenging. These two significant verbs create the foundation of our discipleship philosophy. We believe in knowing each student as individual is a creation of the Lord. We love our students and guide them along their paths. Additionally, we must know our students well enough to challenge them beyond their comfort zone. Individual potential. Each student, move this down so I can read it, has been gifted by God according to his plan. Therefore, each student has their own unique potential. The only way we can unlock the potential is to know each student and the student's family. School should not only be for a certain type of person or a student who learns in one specific type, but it's our mission that every student, regardless of how they have been gifted or how they learn, be shepherded, be challenged to reach their individual potential. It's not one size fits all. It's not teaching to the average or the mediocre. It's teaching each student exactly where they are. Why? To impact this world for Jesus Christ. Usually I like a roar after that. I appreciate some of the feedback. It's good. There you go. Thank you. I didn't write it. Where's Dwayne? I think he wrote it. He's not here tonight. Our core values. To reflect Christ's character through these three things: grace, truth, and love. We want this to be a common language that we use. We want it to weave through what we do and how we treat everyone. We want these to be combinations, that grace doesn't sit by itself, like it's okay to do whatever you want to do, whether you're a staff member or a student or whatever else. Also, if you just put truth out there by itself, it becomes dogmatic and it doesn't create the relationship there. And if you do anything outside of love, we already know none of the rest of it works. So these three together is what we want to have, is a heart that sits here. We are currently doing it, I'll talk a little bit more about it later in my presentation, an entire committee that's going to be focusing on how do we create this profile, this true profile of a graduate of this school from a biblical standpoint of what we would like them to look like. We have lots of conversations about it. We certainly have a lot of points. We have a lot of what we want to see them doing Bible, the kind of characteristics we want children to be. But we truly want to create a profile, and I've invited some of the local pastors to be a part of this committee as well, so that we know exactly what is it we want a kid to look like when they graduate here. And it's not perfect, by the way. I know some of you guys have perfect children, kind of like mine are. They're about as perfect as we are. It's one of my favorite statements, especially when people are like, man, I thought this was a Christian school. There's kids here that behave badly. I said, yeah, they're like the ones you go to church with. It's those people or the people in your own mirror, whichever ones you want to look at. We get to deal with a lot of people that have issues. I would be the number one. All right, let me give you an overview of this. This is our financial position. We really like to give you guys annually, and I started this, I think the first year I was here, to just give you guys a big picture overview of where what our finances look like, how we spend our money, okay? And it's fun. People take pictures of this, and I think it's on Facebook like 2 seconds later, just so everybody knows. That's fine. Tuition, $8.7 million in fees. You see the 1.5. Most of that is donations. There is some interest money that's gathered there as well, with our total income being right around $11,442,000. Okay? And now you can see the buckets and how we spend our money. Wages and benefits is 70%, $8 million of that. Program, which is a lot of curriculum, etc., is about $760,000. Facilities is 1.2. Some of that would be rentals, etc., of the modulars, bus rentals, all those kind of things. Supplies, about $500,000. Depreciation, $409,000. I don't even understand that, what depreciation means. Does money fly out the window? I don't even understand that. I have a math degree, not an accounting degree, so those accounting people can tell me, how does that money go away? I don't know how it goes. Other things that are just peripheral, everything from teachers training, etc., is around $500,000. And so our total expenses are $11,422,000. You can see our net profit every year is about $20,000. The board and the leadership team is specific about one thing. We want to make sure as high a percentage as possible of the money that's coming in as tuition is going to what one thing? Staff. That's it. We're doing our best to give them incredible benefits, and I think certainly we're trying to compete with public schools, but for private schools, our benefits are pretty sharp, and they're pretty solid. We're able to do a 5% matching 403B. We have, I think, a really healthy health benefit for them, and I'll talk a little bit more about salary here in a second, which is something we're continuing to battle and to work with. Here's our financial position. Debt. A couple years ago, we bought a property for 1.5. Well, actually, it was $2.6 million, but the debt that we had on it originally was 1.5 after we paid some down, and it's paid in full. We paid it all off, okay? So we had basically a total of 3 or 4 donations, large donations, and we were able to pay, originally the property itself was 2.6. We borrowed just a little bit of that money. We were able to pay all of that off pretty much within the first year that we purchased the property, okay? And we are excited about that. We do have a $3.8 million bond on this Meridian campus, and that was the expansion that they did with the gymnasium, the cafeteria, all of that section that goes from here over. Now, we all would dream about having this 2.7% bond or interest rate again. That would be something we would have already built the new building, I think, if we had 2.7% maybe sitting out there. It's possible, Jason. We might have done that if we had that sitting out there. And here's the rest of our position. Here's our cash position. We are healthy. We're a very healthy school right now. I almost said church. Operationally, we have $2.1 million. That's ongoing money that we have. Fundraising restricted. We have $2.1 million that's restricted. I'll talk about what that means here in a second. And then we have fundraising unrestricted, about $700,000. So of this, the cash reserve that we currently have in the bank, which is super important as we're looking at potentially building, et cetera. About 1.9 of that is considered restricted funds that's specifically just for the new building, the one property, okay? There's been some people, because we have not done a campaign yet, so if those of you are like, oh, I didn't know you guys were raising money yet. We have not done a campaign yet, but there are people that have stepped forward already, though, to be able to start sowing into that, okay? Which is great because it helps with the architect and a number of things. I'll tell a little bit more about the property here in a second. The other part of the restricted funds would be there's a lot of those are specific to whether it's football, basketball, music and drama, etc. People have given to those specific things, okay? And we make sure that they are used for the purpose of which they were given. All right. See, I already have good questions. Let me see if there's any there. Is there a waiting list for high school? Yes, there is a waiting list for high school. We are full right now for high school. So I believe every single grade that has any additional ones, Rachel, is that correct? Now I know 9th grade for sure has got a waiting list. Is that you can go ahead and yell it out, girl. Okay, awesome. I love this one. Thank you for this question because it first says it this way: skip if answered or controversial. I love that's a good start. Thank you for putting it that way. And the answer is I haven't answered, but it is controversial, and I'll read it out loud. My son thinks there's a chance that the school's closing because of black mold. Absolutely wrong and not correct. I can easily say that one. Just say no, zero black mold. If we had black mold, there would be lots of things. We are not. We actually have done some evaluations and stuff, and we're moving in a really good place. Eric does an amazing job. He's back there giving me the thumbs up, saying we're safe. I didn't look back there and go, black mold, okay, because he gave me the thumbs up or the thumbs down. I already knew the answer to the question. I knew the answer to the question. Okay. Okay, I'll wait on a couple more of those questions. Mark those off so that I don't come back to those, please, Miss Lori. All right. Financial position here. The tuition increase that you guys have in your hands will give us about another $900,000 a year, okay? Now, of that, some of that is growth grades. So the grades, I'll talk a little bit more about those. There's a couple sections new of elementary. It'll be 4th and 5th grade. We'll have additional sections. And then 6th grade coming over, we'll have an additional section. So there's at least those 3 grades that will have the additional sections adding those numbers. So about, the increase is about $600,000 really, that doesn't count the growth tuition that's increased. This will go directly to staff compensation and benefits, just so you guys know, every single penny of it. Tabitha and our CFO and I have had multiple conversations in the last few weeks looking at all of our salaries, et cetera. And even today, I said if we structure it this way, we're going to figure out how. We actually just got good news, though. So be praying for this. Benefits, most people that are hearing benefits coming back are hearing 15 to 20% increase in benefits. And right now, we are preliminarily, keep praying for that, it's below 10% for us right now. So we're really excited about that because every penny that doesn't go to that, we will rotate to staff compensation, okay, from that increase. Our continued focus is on that. And your tuition increase is about $30 to $40 a month increase. That's what it is. For high school, you might see that there's also a what's it called? The retreat fee. We put the retreat fee directly into the fees, okay? So if you do have a challenge with some of that, paying that, communicate that to our business office. But first, it's one of the best things, and I'll talk a little bit about it in a second, that we've done in a long time. We really want every single high school student going. I believe it's one of the most impactful things they can do spiritually and relationally while they're here at the high school, okay? I'll, again, talk more about that here in a bit. I don't know why it's doing that. Here we go. Okay, here's the battle. It is teacher salaries. 2 years ago or something like that, I think the state threw a whole bunch of money into districts, and they created the bottom line or bottom base salary to be $40,000. The governor just came out and said he's going to take the overage of money that's there. He's pushing that so that they're going to be in the top 10 of teacher salaries in the nation. Okay? When I first got here, our base salary was right around $30,000. We've raised it $2,000 a year for the last 2 years. We're looking at something similar this year, right now, which I think we just posted a new job at. The base salary was $36,277, or was that close? Was there at least some of the numbers correct in that? The big numbers were correct, okay? And you can see that that's almost $4,000 below the current base, and if they move it to 47, every time we take a step forward, they're taking 7 steps forward. And so that's the battle. We really have one bucket right now to be able to pay for that, and that's tuition. And we are looking for lots of other opportunities, whether it's running businesses on the side, coffee shops. There's a number of things we're attempting to do, including endowment and monies that would be coming in to supplement that. But I'm just being honest with you on what the battle that sits out there is. Celebrations. Let me look at some questions, see if any of these, okay. Let's see if any of these have to do with some of this before I keep going. I think I'll read this one. At what point do we stop with continual grace and take action towards students and families who aren't following CVCS standards? I'm going to hand anyone that wants to answer that question the microphone. I know Kimberly's out, Demaine is out in the hallway on this. Kimberly, did you hear the question? You did? How often do we have this conversation? We did not rehearse this. How often do we have the conversation of whether a family is probably not fitting here or not? Okay. And are those conversations easy or hard, including the one we had today? Not easy. They're hard. And so I guess what I'll tell you guys is we are absolutely active every single day discipling and working in partnership with families. Each one of these are super hard decisions. Every one of them is a family that is trying to do exactly what you're trying to do with your kids. And so we will absolutely lead with grace and love, and we will follow up with in truth. We extend it to the point where we see a kiddo that will not choose to change. That's the best way I can tell you. Okay? And yes. See, I'm not afraid to answer these questions. You might not like the answer, but that's really honest, me being as transparent as I can up here on how we do that. We're very, very active in doing that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. No, I'm not. I have to go back because I didn't answer those questions. Celebrations. First-time decisions for Christ. There's been a number of those. Everywhere from preschool, early childhood, we had a couple, through elementary, We had some in middle school. We had some at the retreats. We've had some here in chapel as well as all the way through high school. So again, what we're trying to do is continue to happen. And I'm super excited about that. Thousands of service hours performed, especially by the high school students. Some of you guys know that your kiddos are a part of that. Band and Color Guard were the first ever 2A school to perform under the lights in the showcase at the end of the Mel Shelton District 3 competition due to their success. A photo of the awards they won above, and they were recognized for the best use of lights for a musical group at the Caldwell Lights Parade. And if you were there, it was cold. It's cold the last 2 years. I keep thinking, is it colder in Caldwell or is it just me? But it was cold in Caldwell. Other things that we have to celebrate. Peer ministry at the elementary school. 3/4 of these kids, if you have an upper elementary that are potentially coming up here, volunteer to basically unload kids out of cars every day, even when it's cold. It's one of the cutest things you've ever seen, and I love seeing that. Early Child had a phenomenal Christmas program this year. Here's a couple academic things. We have a number of students that are in our student academic service program. What's incredible is to see a number of them growing even beyond that program. And we've had ones that are graduating out of there into the class where they don't need nearly as much help. So we're really excited about seeing those. We also have kids, and I know you've heard this of the COVID gap, those especially that did online education for a couple of years. The amount of growth that we've seen over the last year and a half in these students, I think, has been miraculous. And I just say kudos to the staff because they've been doing an incredible job of teaching these kids. And hopefully you were able to go to the alumni game. We had the best turnout of alumni at the basketball game this year. I did give Mr. Connor a hard time because I don't remember being asked to play in the game. I was just reflecting on that. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm old. Maybe they didn't want me to hurt anybody. Maybe they didn't want to see me fall on the ground and have to call the ambulance. Probably the real reason. Elementary chapel, worship and salvations. We already had a credible time. Most of you guys are secondary, so I'll keep going. Middle school retreats and chapel. Middle schools had, I think, a great year. Both 7th and 8th grade had a great retreat for each of them. Both looked different. And then the culture that Mr. Goodbar has created, I think especially here in chapel, where they really have their own thing going on. We certainly still do some combined with high school, occasionally when it's a large celebration, go into the gym and do that. But to be able to come in here, in fact, I keep saying I wish the high school worshiped like the middle school does, because the energy in this room is so strong. And they're in their advisory groups, they have their cool little signs, and they're celebrating that. And I really love to see the culture that's beginning to be created that's truly around that middle school part. High school retreat was something that Miss Demane and I talked about this even a couple weeks ago, because we were like, all right, do we want to keep doing this high school retreat? And literally all of us said it was one of the best things we've done. Yes, the trip is 6 hours because it's in the beautiful, beautiful city of Antelope, Oregon. There are 7 people, I think, that live in that little town as we pass through. And it's literally in the middle of nowhere at this Young Life camp that's out there. What's it called? I have it down. Washington Family Ranch. But the facilities, and I believe getting all the kids together to create culture is literally going to have a perpetuation that's positive over and over and over. And we're super excited about continuing it. We saw kids' lives impacted and changed there. It was super fun to see that. And we saw, we want that to come off the mountain, right? We all have those mountain experiences come back here, and really praying that that's going to continue to flow here. So that's something we really feel positive about. We have high school missions trips, 2 of them this summer, that's going to the Philippines and to India. And then secondary chapel focus. I just wanted to tell you guys, I love that Mr. Beglinger has made sure we have a focus by quarters this year on chapels. If you haven't heard those, I'm just going to read them real fast. First quarter was follow Christ. Individuals must follow Jesus before they can be a part of his community. Number 2, gather, not just being in the same place, but sharing life together. Third quarter, which is where we're at right now, is bodybuilding, which is our current one, challenging and admonishing one another to grow in the faith so that we can go do lots of things. And then finally, the last quarter will be go share the kingdom with others. We have Miss Morgan again put a grant into the Brandt Foundation. It's the largest grant we've ever seen come from them this year. It's $25,000 for our STEAM program. If you see her celebrate, she does an amazing job. She's also helping us with a much larger grant right now that we have you can be praying for that. We've got a large grant opportunity that we're going to be doing potentially for the new facility on Monday. So please be praying for that. It's a significant one. 3 college student signings this year. We had 7 seniors that went on to play college athletics last year. In fact, I heard also that our football quarterback just had an offer, and so I know that there's some potential more that are coming. Girls basketball won their first state championship. Boys and girls golf had their first, or not their first, but their state championship, both of them at the same year. I don't know how often that's happened, although it is, the rich school got both boys and girls golf. That's just another issue I have. It's the private school. They both got, I think it's amazing. And we had our, Parker Wallace was the first ever CVCS golfer to win the individual state championship. And we got to recognize him the other day at a basketball game. Middle school football team won the championship this year. Middle school girls basketball team won the championship this year. Today at Middle School Chapel, I watched almost 20 kids excuse me, get the Ultimate Charger Award. And the Ultimate Charger, if you know a little bit about it, here's what I love about it. It gives kids an opportunity to go above and beyond. And they came up here. There was a couple, Tabitha and I were talking about this earlier. There were a couple kids that got up here and gave presentations that were pretty personal and shared some pretty serious stuff about their own lives and how they've overcome stuff. And for them to do that in front of their peers, I thought was an amazing thing today. So, Brian, good job with that. I really, really enjoyed today. Well done. Those are celebrations. Staff and student culture. This is a great picture. For those that know Bernie Danielson, she worked here a couple years, was our receptionist. And I just want to show the heart that I see that our kids. This is after school. And this looks like what we would do at a pep rally where we're sending off a state championship, and instead it was Bernie. Instead was Bernie. And what I love about that is seeing the heart of our kids. First, obviously, because we have teachers and staff that love the kids so well, they create an incredible relationship. And as a result, they do what we hope they're going to do. Okay? And even the ones that are a pain in the butt a little bit are still in that line. Okay? They are. Some of the ones we love. Don't do that. I'm trying to figure out my mouse. Here we go, SAT averages. If you look at this, the top one is the state average, 993. National average is 1051. Last year, CVCS, the general average that we had was 1125, and our top 25% of our seniors hit 1349. The class of 2021 earned $4.1 million in scholarships, and my youngest son's class last year, though, got $4,370,000. I just wanted to make sure I said that. So we're pretty excited about what we see our kids doing. And I think it's important for us to always measure ourselves. We know we want to do that, but we should definitely be doing as good in the academics and making sure that we're moving our kids along so that they're able to go out there and compete. Partnerships. We have incredible volunteer partnerships that have been happening this year. Thank you so much for those that volunteer. Certainly there's more opportunities at the elementary, and I jokingly say this and usually get in trouble when I say it. The elementary, they still actually want you on campus. At the secondary campus, they kind of want you if it's about money and food. That's pretty much what they're looking for. And by the way, if you have college kids, how many of you guys have college kids? It does not change at all. And people are telling me even after college it doesn't change a lot. So that's something to look forward to, just about there. Prayer and prayer walks on both campuses. I know that elementary is actually doing a 28-day prayer during February. So I really encourage you guys to keep praying. Pray God's hand over here. Pray as we're talking about culture and keeping who we are and what. Pray for that, please. Pray that we have wisdom in how to walk through each of these relationships and things that we're dealing with. PTF at the elementary has been very active. In fact, they threw a large Christmas party for all staff at the end of the year and just did such a neat job of blessing us. incredible community building events. We've had great turnouts. I really appreciate you guys just being active at the events that we are having you guys come to. We've been super blessed by that. And if you haven't already signed up for this, or please plan on attending the gala. It's going to be at the Grove this year. It's going to be a great evening. Last year, I think we raised $400 and some thousand dollars. I almost said million. Come on, Jesus. Bring your checkbooks. Bring your mortgages. I'll just be prophetic right there. I felt that. I can tell you this year, right off the top, at the end of the year giving was not as strong as we were hoping it would be. We take the top 80,000 of that, we turn it around to give as a Christmas gift the following year. The first thing at the gala is going to be trying to do the exact same thing for staff, okay? So it will be the top thing that's at the gala. So please come and be a part of that, or at least do some stuff online and come in. Here's a great, I love this one. I don't know, we need to probably do this at the high school. This is called Donuts with Dad. And I'm telling you, I think Donuts with Dad even would flow here at the secondary, especially if it came with coffee of some kind, usually Dutch Bros. But the lines at Dutch Bros are too long to actually get it, so this is not going to happen. I will go to the questions, guys. I've decided that going back and forth isn't working. Let me finish the presentation, and then I'll go through the questions. Board strategic initiatives. There are 5 of them. I'm going to talk about these real quickly. We had a board retreat with a gentleman that we highly respect that walked us through this. And we did the same thing with our leadership team, as well as staff. And these are the 5 things we all came up with as being the things that I need to be held accountable for as a superintendent for us to be moving forward, okay? We have individuals that are over each of these committees. And I will tell you, certainly the 2 big ones that are sitting up there, New Campus Campaign and New Campus Construction. And I'll read you what these say. Cole Valley Christian School will conduct a multi-year comprehensive capital campaign to underwrite a portion of the construction costs for the new campus and establish an endowment. I'm the person that's leading that. Second one, Cole Valley Christian Schools will design, plan, construct, and occupy a 50-acre campus with well-appointed academic, athletics, arts facility to serve 1,800 students, hopefully by the fall. It doesn't say hopefully, it says by the fall of 2025, but we'll talk about the timeline here in a second. So those 2 are sitting there, but I can tell you right now, out of all these 5, those are not the most important. In fact, it was even, last board meeting, or maybe the one before, Jason, we all continued to declare the most important are the next 3. Most important are the next 3. And when you talk about community and culture, you're talking about what everyone is, as growth happens. As I have been in Idaho, this is my 3rd year, okay? I've heard nothing except that on 84, at the grocery store, at the churches we go to, that population change is changing culture a bit. It is. I'm not going to argue about that. The question is, can we keep our culture focused on what we want it to stay at? That's the real question. Because growth does change. It does. There has to be some decisions that are made with that. And we'll talk more about that, and I'll try to answer some of your questions around that. But community and culture, Cole Valley Christian Schools will intentionally focus energy, resources, personnel, and programs to nurture and promote culture of Cole Valley community, engaging families, students, staff, alumni, and friends. Spiritual formation, and I'm over this committee. And again, this is one we'll be inviting some pastors to. We've got, again, all of these, we've already done one initial strat-op where we put all the strengths and weaknesses of these together as an entire staff, and now we're working in committees. So this committee, I've got one that's going to be the 21st. We're going to do a 3-hour meeting that's going through the spiritual formation. And we want to have formation program to foster knowledge of God, relationship with God, and service of God to one another in community. And what I talked about earlier was truly this biblical profile of a graduate of Cole Valley. Finally, organizational and personnel development. Cole Valley Christian Schools will organize and equip its profession, staff, and recruit, retain, train, reward, and expanding well-credentialed teaching staff to increase effectiveness and improve excellence. Tabitha and I went to a job fair 2 days ago. And we were looking for teachers because we know we have some potential. Guess how many applicants we had come to our table? Come on. Not Tabitha, somebody else. Just guess, just help. 0. There were 4 school districts there. West Ada was there, we were there, Caldwell was there, and there was a charter school that was there. And we saw, there's 2 sophomores that just started in the education program. But we've got to be very purposeful about going out and praying and making sure that we're bringing in great teachers, giving them the best compensation we possibly can and taking care of them. So it's a central focus of ours, is why I'm saying that. We have 2 task forces that also have been called out by the board. There's the safety task force, and Mr. Abeg is in charge of that. He has a group that he's pulling together. There are some law enforcement officers, as well as others of the community. They're going to be a part of putting together even a better safety plan that we have for the entire school. So they'll be doing an entire evaluation of both sides of the campus and giving recommendations to the board regarding how to continue to improve safety and security. For those that do not know this, we do have a Marshal program in both campuses. The Marshal program is, we have multiple staff members that do have concealed permits, okay? They are armed. We have multiple individuals on each campus that are armed at all times. And so we practice lockdowns, we practice all of those, they're sitting there, but we want to get better. We put, I don't know how many $1,000 of cameras did we put in this last year, gentlemen? Almost 100 between the two? 70, 60, 35,000. Okay, a lot of cameras. Mission and vision, we'll also be re-looking at our mission and vision. When you talk about mission and vision, you want to stay there. We want to revisit it and make sure, is this who we are? Is this where we want to stand? Is where we want to continue to go? And I will be helping out with that one. But we're also giving special attention to these 3 things, okay? These actually were strat ops that I shared last year prior to us doing the board retreat. So I want to make sure that you understand that there's been thoughts of what we've done in the past to make sure it's feeding into the future, as well as these are still concentrations of how we're doing things, okay? Growth planning. Last year we got feedback from families that the growth was happening too quickly, and we slowed it down significantly. I know it doesn't feel that way, but I promise we slowed it down significantly. We capped 5 grades, I think it was 5 grades off the top of my head, without allowing them to grow. We listened to feedback about not moving things too fast and actually bringing 6th grade. We planned on bringing 6th grade here last year. And so we did slow that down. And we've been very purposeful on how we've done growth. So even though I've said to you we have waiting lists in all of high school, we're being very purposeful on how we're going to be adding the middle school here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as soon as I get to that slide. Development of the middle school. Again, 7th and 8th grade has really been working on that middle school model this year. They've had some things that have worked well, and they've found some errors and some things that haven't worked, which is exactly what we were hoping would happen with 2 grades, so that when we brought the 6th grade here, we were better prepared to handle some of those. I know Mr. Goodbye and I have had good reflections along with his leadership team of what things we want to change, how we want to improve those, and how we want to make next year great for those 6th graders that are and 6th and 7th graders that are coming up here. So you have 2/3 of them that are coming up to this new level of the middle school. And then finally, a focus on mission, CVS culture. I'll answer some more of these, and we'll talk a little bit more about the CVCS culture. How do I say this? So this is the 2nd Christian school that I've been superintendent of. I was 13 years in Colorado. And at the last school, this was the largest conversation almost always there as well, just so you guys know. And as I talk to other superintendents, this is the toughest thing and that they hear is things are changing, culture's changing, things are pushing in, things are trying to change. The answer is yes, it is. All of it's true. Which is why I'm excited about our partnership, because it's a partnership. We want to hear from you. We want to continue to get better and improve. I do not in any way think that size does create some negative culture. We've got to stay on purpose. We need to staff things correctly. We need to hold people accountable with grace, truth, and love combination. Not all grace, right? Not all truth, not all love, and making sure we're doing that. And all I'm going to do is stand here and tell you guys, we are every single day working our tails off on that end of things. We are hiring the kind of teachers to make sure that it stays that way. We are training our teachers to make sure that we are holding kids accountable for that. We are interviewing. I think we have a more stringent interview process right now than the school has ever had. Here's what I do not do, and this was a question that was posed to me, and I'll be a little bit grumpy about this, but I want you guys to hear my heart on it. I'll probably get in trouble. It happens. I always ask this question. Well, I know there's some of these people that don't go to church. You should follow them and see if they actually go to church. And I'm going to be honest with you. That the heart of that makes me sad. I'm going to be honest. Do we want everyone a part of our school that is in full covenant with us? Yes. When we interview them and screen them, do they tell us yes to that? Do they answer the questions? Yes. Do we follow them? We don't. But we do walk in partnership. And that's you guys are in equal partnership with us. That we've got to continue to walk together on this. It's not an easy thing. It's a relationship. No different than the relationships you guys have at your church. And honestly, everyone is as holy here as they are at your church or my church. It is a struggle. And we know that people will say they are Christians. This is me. I know I say I'm a Christian, and there are times I don't act like it. And that happens here as well. And we are working really hard to make sure that we keep that culture strong. I mean, you guys know how strong the staff is. Most of you are here because of the impact the teachers are having on your kids. So I'm just telling you how hard we are working to make sure that that stays there. And I'll go through some more of the questions. That's my soapbox. Future and growth. We did add K2. We added 4 sections this last year. We already had 4 sections, 7, 8 through 10, or 12. That's how many grades we have. Next year, the second grade, groups of 4 will come to 3rd. We'll add one additional section at 4th, 1 at 5th, and 1 at 6th. That's next year. Pretty much we already have those in the docket, and at that point in time, we are full. We're done. We are not growing anymore. We're not adding any more modulars. You guys can put it on your calendar. You can put it on the date. You can take a picture of that and post it on Facebook. We are done growing until we build another campus, okay? And at that point in time, the growth that you'll see is we will add one more section of middle school. It would be up to 125 instead of 100. And at high school, we would allow 2 more sections, 150. There's a possibility of up to 700 in high school, but 600 to 700 is that sweet spot. A lot of research says that's when you can offer just about everything, but you can still keep a nice, close community to be able to really impact the kids. Okay? So that's the growth that we're doing, and we've been very purposeful about it. And the board did a phenomenal job of making the decision, all of us putting the brakes on, and really watching how this was going to go this year. It's been over 5 years that they've had a conversation that we needed a middle school. And that this middle school concept is making sure that we're going to take care of kids in that middle level in a different way. In the past, it was just elementary. And then once they went from there to 7th grade, it was lower high school, basically. It was called secondary, right? And so most of the 7th and 8th grade, we functioned like they were part of the high school, just younger high school kiddos. When in fact, if you remember back, I'm sure it was a traumatic experience. 6, 7, and 8 is a whole new world. I had a parent meeting today, and we talked about the difference between an 8th grade boy and a 9th grade boy. Some of you are laughing because you actually lived through that. First, we're just glad that they actually found deodorant. That's a positive. That's something that's happened. And it's amazing that the things that they thought were funny in 8th grade of picking and prodding and doing all those things, at 9th grade, whether it's because you have seniors and juniors that are going, that's stupid, they stopped doing some of that stuff. And some of the mean, hateful, verbal stuff that comes out of girls' mouths, all of a sudden, 9th grade's not cool anymore. Middle school is a whole new world. It is. And we want to make sure that they have their own culture. We want to make sure that they have their own leadership and their own team. We want to make sure that they have 3 years together where those teachers can get to know those guys and impact their lives. Okay? I'm super excited. I'm a middle school teacher. That's what I taught first. And so I'm so excited about what we're planning to continue to improve in that area. I think I said my notes. I don't know. I'm not even looking at them. We already talked about that. See, it's great. Middle school, so you know, modulars are in place. Eric, when do we have occupancy of the other 2 modulars? I'm glad you're in this room. I can ask you. Spring? Okay. So the other 2, we already have classrooms in 2 of those. The other 2 will have full occupancy. Basically, the modulars will be all high school as well as some of the upper deck. Middle school will be main level, second level, the towers, and the annex. And so the separation between the 2 groups of those will be very strong. We'll have about a 15-minute difference start and stop to make sure that we can get in and through the parking lot. Am I still concerned about drop-off in the morning for the parking lot? And Miss Kim Demain and Brian say, yes, we are still concerned about it. We are still working through 2 different plans on what we think will happen. We still believe if we separate it by 15 minutes, we create 2 drop-off points here that it'll work. As soon as they finally just got the construction done, I think, off all these roads, which has only been going on for 9 months. Is that a typical Meridian thing? I'm just asking. Anyone that works in that department, please help me out. They've had a transition team together. Mr. Goodbar is working with 6th grade teachers right now to make sure that we're ready coming up. There's a transition day the 17th, I think it's on my notes. And that'll be a preview day. 7th grade will be in the morning, 6th grade in the afternoon. They're going to walk them through the details, walk them through so that they're feeling good about what's happening in the building. They'll know where their classrooms are for the most part and be able to see exactly what we're going to be doing with the program, okay? So I'm, again, excited about that. There's a refocus on relationships and culture. And I already talked about reflections on how we need to improve. I'm almost at the end. New property and vision, and then the last slide, and I'll do questions, okay? So that you know that I did hit the hour pretty close. Here's where we're at with the new property. We did hire an architect. I said that to you guys last year, and we were hoping to be breaking ground almost like right now. And they did a phenomenal design. The board is incredibly excited about the design that we've seen. We hired ESI as our construction company as well, so we're in partnership with ESI. We gave that to them so that they give us a preliminary budget, and they gave it back to us, and our jaws dropped. That's the truth. We were estimating a certain number, and the number that they gave back to us first was 40% higher than we were hoping. 40% higher. Okay? So instead of a $100,000 house, $140,000 house. And so we have sent them back to the drawing board, both the architect as well as our construction company, in coming up with a plan that is going to be reasonable. Our goal is more of a project somewhere between $80 to $85 million. Okay, we believe that we can fundraise. And you guys will see more information about this when it's time, how we're going to fundraise and how we're going to do this. If you guys look back, 70% of our money goes to staff compensation and benefits. Who remembers what percent was for facility? What's that? About 10? 7 to 10%. We need to continue to keep that there. And so we'll be looking at a whole different, we do not want to borrow $70 million and think we can pay a $70 million mortgage and do that. So we were working more on an endowment idea, that the endowment paying for the mortgage itself, so that we don't increase that. Because we know we cannot put a new building on either thing. We can't put it on the backs of you guys in tuition, and we can't put it on the backs of the staff in compensation. So we know we have to have a new model, and that's what we've been working really hard on, and we're excited about it. Our hope is we're going to be breaking ground in the fall. So we're hoping October, and we'll definitely let you guys know that. We're hoping still that we might be able to be on the athletic fields on the fall of 2025, at least the outdoor athletic fields, with the idea of potentially being open in 2025 if everything went perfectly. Come on. And that $400 million comes in at the gala. Otherwise, it probably will be 2026. We are starting what's called a silent phase of the campaign, which is why you're not hearing about it. You typically need to raise about 80% of your funds, of how much you need to raise, in the silent phase before you do a public phase. So you guys will most likely see the public phase and full information on all of this during the gala next year. That's the basic overview on how you guys will see that, okay? Nod your heads like you still hear me, okay? All right, here's the question thing. Let me get a drink, and then I'm going to start going. There's only 50 questions. You have to all stay for every one of them if I'm going to answer them, tease them. There's not 50 questions. I'm going to take my glasses off. I see better there. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Have you asked students how they're being affected by growth? No. Principals, have we asked our students how they've been affected by growth? Miss Kim, can you come in, pretty please? Brian? You guys have another mic that we can flow back there? 'Cause not that she needs it, but well, you know what? Let's not give Kim a mic. Let's rethinking that.
Okay. So, how Have I asked the question to students about growth? I have not made an announcement at chapel, an open-ended question in chapel to all of them at the same time. No, I have not. It is a topic of conversation all the time. It comes up naturally. It comes up in advisory. It comes up in classrooms. It comes up with teachers. And what I hope is that we are creating an environment where students are able to ask any old question they think of at any time, because they love people like Bernie and anybody else. So while we may not ask the exact question that you are hoping we do, which, by the way, feel free to email me anytime if you have questions you want me to start asking people. I'm always up for ideas.
Especially if it's a specific person, it's more fun.
Again, we're
That's
hoping to create a community and a culture.
Where they can all talk. It's good.
And they do. They talk a lot, guys.
They do.
It's a lot of fun.
And that's what, the advisories and that opportunity where we really have that small group piece is huge for that. I think it's a fair question. I'll read this in that word specifically. Ambrose recently stated that they will not accept ESAs if the Idaho legislature passes a bill in favor of them. Will CVCS also take that same stance? So how many of you heard of this bill that's up there? Okay, so I've been behind the scenes working with senators on this bill. So the answer is I don't think I would have that same stance unless. So ESA is not vouchers, but it really is a percentage of the state money would go with the family. And if that happened, just so you guys know, we will raise tuition, but it will be a game changer for how we are able to impact and bless our teachers. It would be a huge game changer. So the idea right now is about 80% would go with you, which is about $6,000. So if you guys, each one of you had that much money you could put toward whatever school you wanted to, if we kind of split the difference there, you'd have a discount, we'd get a little bit more. I think there would be a great thing. Here's the only reason, and I don't know why Ambrose is saying that. I haven't talked to their head of school, and I don't know that I think he's been on some of those calls. If they tie legal things or requirements that come from the federal or state government, we'll have to be very careful whether we say yes or no to it. So anytime there's funds, now I'm much more concerned about federal funds, we're very careful about that, than we are state funds. So and we've had this conversation behind the scenes. As long as there's not ties. The only tie that I'm aware of currently that was a part of the conversation was that there would have to be some standardized testing to show progress. We already do standardized testing to show progress, so to me that didn't scare me. But Ambrose didn't like that because they do have a different teaching model. And I don't think they do basic standardized testing. And that's not negative. They do their whole model of teaching is different, okay? Did that answer the question? I hope so. I read that one. Good. I am reading these, I promise. Class sizes, the comment was we have a couple classrooms that are 30-plus students, and I'm not sure in 7th grade specifically. I know we had a math class that might be pushing that. Brian, do we have a couple? Is it a couple that are right around 30? 28 is the highest. Okay, so our goal is to not have anything larger than 25. At times when you're doing levels, and you have 2 or 3 levels, and you only have one teacher, it does become more challenging that are sitting there. We had that happen with math a little bit. And so I can just tell you our goal with all of our energy is to make sure that we're trying to keep it at below 25 at all possible. Does it happen occasionally? It does. I know we have one at high school. There's a couple at the high school level as well. One of them is on purpose, and Miss Kim and I have argued, but everyone says they love it that way. And so I say, yes, you have to turn. Oh, no, see? Yeah, don't turn her back on. Don't you turn her back on.
I want this.
Especially if I'm wrong, because if I said something different.
I want this on at all times, just so we're clear, David. I can't believe.
David, remember who hires and fires. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh my Lanta. I don't have a single math class that's above 25.
Yep.
Not
Good.
one single math class. I actually have.
History.
Yeah. The main class that is large is Miss Dixie Herring. And I do that on purpose, with purpose, and in total faith, trust, and respect with Dixie. Because honestly, she does a phenomenal job, even if there's 40 kids in her class. So,
At a recent staff meeting, you stated that a complete campus might not be done by 2025. Why continue to grow when a new building isn't in the foreseeable future? We're not going to continue growing, okay? The growth that I just shared with you was consideration, lots of conversations with the board, and planned growth for the last 2 to 3 years, okay? Just so you understand that. So at that point in time, as of next year, we are done growing. We are not going to continue to grow. We are not adding, there's no more places to put anything. If school choice passes here in Idaho, how do you think that will impact our financial position? I think I answered that question. What % of teachers are Idaho State certified? What effort do we encourage? Kelly's not here. Tabitha, half? Somewhere in that ballpark? All of them are ACSI certified, which is Association of Christian Schools International. Every single one of them are in the process of that. Many of our teachers are state certified. Here's what's happened over the years. Almost all of them were, but there hasn't been a lot of incentive that sits there for them to continue to keep their state certification. I have my Colorado State certification still, and I haven't got my Idaho one just because I didn't put the paperwork in yet. So some of that is sitting there. We are having that conversation, though. It's a part of, but I still feel like we need to figure out how to do some financial benefits there so that we incentivize the idea of having their state certification. Okay? By the way, that doesn't mean they don't have educational degrees. That doesn't mean any of that stuff. It means they might have come from a different state. There's a number of them have state certificates that are from other states as well. What impact will sixth grade come to campus impact the flow, everything? I talked a little bit about pickup and drop off. I wish we could figure out how to test that and say, let's try it first. But I don't think there's a way to do that. Cafeteria, we added an additional cafeteria, just so you guys know, last year. There's a half cafeteria that sits in the annex. And right now, only 10 kids go in there. 10, okay? So next year we will be pushing sixth grade, saying, this is going to be your cafeteria. It should be able to seat somewhere between 50 to 70 kids really easily as an overflow that's for that one cafeteria. Passing periods will be different between middle school and high school. All of that stuff will be different. I'm not going to say they will never run into each other, but we feel like, again, I think the only thing we've talked about we're all have some anxiety about is pick up and drop off. Okay. Question that's because we took it off the paper, will you offer a multi-student discount? The current multi-student discount that you guys have, you will still have. Okay. We did have a conversation as a board this last board meeting about the strengths and weaknesses to that. So that you guys know, first kid's full, second kid, I think 10% off, then 20%, 30%, and 40%. That doesn't pay for teachers well. And so we're looking at some of that. But at the same time, we want families that have multiple students to be able to afford to be here. So we are looking at, if you're already here, most likely if we change it, you'll be grandfathered and that will never change. But new families coming in might see a change. Okay? Does that answer that question? We are definitely looking at it, but we're also looking at, currently right now, just so you're also aware, we give almost $1.4 million in student aid and discounts. And when you look at that budget, that's a significant percentage. We've got to continue to, we're trying to look at all the areas we can tweak to impact teacher salaries. It's that simple, every single one of them. Without, of course, and I know it's an investment for you guys, and we certainly super appreciate that. Why are we the most expensive Christian school in the Valley? I don't think we just... when I showed the board the evaluations of the current ones, and I talked to the other schools, I think you're going to see most of the tuitions are going to be really, really close to the same, is what I would say about that. And I showed you our books, exactly where we're at and how we're doing it, okay? So our goal is to give you an incredible quality Christian education for the best, absolute best price we can give it to you. We have no desire to increase tuition a penny more than we have to be able to meet the needs of the school and to bless the teachers as much as possible. You guys see, I'm not afraid to read the questions. Just saying. But I would challenge that we're not the most expensive. They are all pretty darn close. And I talked to the superintendent. Guys, it's that time of the year, all the superintendents, we call each other. Like, what are you doing? How are we doing about this? What are you doing? About the same. I know Nampa Christian's doing about the same increases as you guys see in front of you. Is growth affecting staff? Yes, it is. I would say it affected them more in the last year and a half than I've heard this year. I think there's been not comfort. I don't know. How would I say it? Kim, you?
Stabilization.
There, that's the right.
Yeah, we've actually done really, really well in the high school to navigate class size, not just class size, but the number of students any teacher sees on any given day. And in some of my departments, because we've been able to increase staff with the growth, I have a number of teachers who see fewer students now than they did 4, 5, and 6 years ago, because back then I had multiple teachers who were teaching 2 grades worth of students, and now they have 1.
I have a question. Why does student growth cost $300,000? It seems that those students' tuition would cover the cost. They do. About 20 students will pay for a teacher, their benefits, and the peripheral costs that sit around that. So every 20 kids. And so we, in that budget that you guys saw with the increase of 900, there are 4 additional staff members, teacher staff members. There's going to be a part-time administrative assistant probably position that sits there. There's going to be a middle school assistant principal dean that will be helping with the middle school next year with the growth that's coming there. That's where the growth numbers are on the staff. And it is a catch-22. A little bit, I think, what Ms. Domain said is, with growth, you're actually able to add more staff members that can help you impact. And so, like for right now, you have Tricia and Brian running the entire middle school. To have another full-time body in the middle school to help with those kiddos is super important. And so, Tricia said amen. Thank you. That's the way to sit in the front, girl. Middle school boys won the championship game for football this year, and basketball girls won. There we go. See, you even were ahead of me on that thing. I'm glad I got it. Reminder, Idaho 529 college savings account can be used to pay for all tuition, not fees. This is a tax savings. Great reminder if you guys have a 529 plan. There's a question here regarding sports and dismissal. If anyone wants to talk to me or Ms. Domain individually, I think that's probably better in person. Also the one regarding elementary security. So this one. So why is the elementary lacking security guard for the past 2 years? It's not. Just so you know. We have at least, is it 3? I can't see your fingers, 4? We have 4 armed staff members at that campus, okay? And in fact, we hired, I'm not going to say, we actually hired Trevor as the facility security person there 2 years ago, so that you're aware. And he also helps with chapel, etc. How are Coal Valley teachers' salaries determined? Is it based on an objective matrix? If so, is that matrix available to view? The answer is no and no. We start with a base salary. I told you guys that publicly where our base salary is. There are many that have been on an incremental piece, and here's what's happened. We've had 3 superintendents over the last 5 years. Is that fair? And the last 2 had different salary schedules to me coming in. Tabitha and I are working diligently to create that, okay? Because I believe transparency, not just for you guys, but for incoming staff members and current staff members to say, oh, you mean I have 5 years and I have a master's degree, I'm here. That is what we're trying to create. I will tell you, here's the gap. Oh, darn, I thought I had a slide on this. To hit the 40,000 as the base and have those steps that you typically would see with is about a $400,000 gap. That's where we're at. 400,000. Not $400,000 once time. 400,000 on top of what you guys have already saw as an increase. And we did not choose to put that to parents right now. And that's not necessarily a plan. We're trying to figure out how, is there ways to step into that? Is there ways for us to step each of those teachers into those steps so that they're currently there? Staff that are coming in from other districts, we at times need to negotiate their salary a little bit. So if they're getting paid certain amount in Oregon is a good example. We had at least one math teacher that came from Oregon. We certainly do our best to try to match at least what they're making, because there's not 50 math teachers running around the country, just so you guys know that piece. We also they've done a very good job in the past of making sure some of our very impacting teachers had some incremental growth, because they did have a pay for performance piece for a number of years, so that kind of put some people out of Yonkers, I think that's the right word, but I don't know if that's the one that we want to use, on this step. So my answer is we're working really hard on that step, and it does not currently exist, except behind the scenes. I think I answered the academic. Where does academic advancement fit into the strategic initiatives? Again, it is part of the profile, but we have also accreditation that's coming up right now, and one of the things we're re-looking at right now for every single subject area is called the big, what's it called, ELOs? ELOs.
Essential Learning Outcomes.
Yeah, specific essential learning outcomes. And that'll be a part of that overall, even though it says spiritual profile, it'll be a part of that profile. So that's a piece of where the initiatives are with the academics. And again, remember, the strategic initiatives had to do where what we saw were things we needed to concentrate and we thought were weaknesses. So that's why we're working on those 5 things, okay? Doesn't mean we're not doing those others. If teachers' pay is struggle, can we increase the discount teachers' kids receive? We certainly give them that, and just so you guys know, teachers that are struggling financially, they are the first ones that get aid as far as academic aid as well. So they get an automatic % off, and then if they have a need, they are the first ones that get additional need. We make sure that we take care of that. We also, just like a church family, if we know that if our family's in need, we make sure that things happen around their families, just so you guys know. And you guys do an amazing job with that as well. Okay, if we can't find teachers, why the growth? And again, the growth, up to this point in time, we have not had a problem finding teachers. Okay? In fact, I think we've hired great teachers. I was just sharing the idea that we went to one teacher fair and there were no teachers at that one. We are going to another one. We're praying that it's going to be an education one. And if there are no teachers at the education one, then I'll come back here and tell you guys we're in trouble. We're growing because we are responding to what we believe God has called us to do in our mission at this school. That's why we're growing. Okay? It's that simple. And we are making sure that our growth is both from a physical standpoint as well as relational, that we can do it well, and we continue to grow. I know there's growing pains, and I know some people would potentially push against that. I've told you where our concentration is on that. But I think last year I said it this way. To me, it's no different than having a church and you have 20 people outside your church and you're like, I'm sorry, you're full. We're not going to bring any more in the church. If we have the means and we have families that really want to partner with us and be here, that's why we're going to continue to move in our mission. We always go back to what our mission statement is before we make decisions. So the decision from growth that the board made on my recommendation is to grow because it lines up with our mission. Okay? And we will find teachers because Jesus is incredibly faithful and he has every single time. We will. We don't need a lot of teachers next year. And in fact, I think that we just started postings and I'm pretty excited of the applicants we're going to have. Great question. How are board members appointed? We are a self-perpetuating board, okay? Policy governance. So what they do, right now we are actually interviewing, I think, 2. Is that right, Jason? Does that sound right? And so it's not by popular vote or any of that. It is a group, almost all but 3 current board members are parents still of students. All the other ones had students that graduated from here at one point in time or another. And we are trying to get a couple more right now that actually have younger students to make sure we continue to perpetuate that idea. So self-perpetuating, we interview, we make sure that they align with the group. They give them extenuating and excrucive and painful interview process to make sure that they can be a part of that. What we don't want is anyone coming on the board with a specific agenda, but really is focused on the mission and vision of who we are as a school and has that heart for doing that. So that's how they're chosen. And if you want to talk more about that, I'll definitely. How many churches represent? Rachel, have we done that? What was the last survey? 70, 60? Okay. How am I choosing the pastors from spiritual community committee? I've really taken 3 or 4 that I think are really cross-referenced pastors, to be honest with you. There wasn't like I did an interview process and chose them. It's just really ones that we specifically know have a heart for our school, ones that have out of their own heart already volunteered or a part of being a part of the school. I did not go out and grab pastors that really have nothing to do with the school or haven't shown no interest here. So it's specifically the ones that have shown interest, care, love, that type of stuff for our school. I think I answered that one. There's a few more. I'm going to... class sizes are not expected to grow. We do not want any class sizes above 25. Again, I see a statement that kids have to stand up to eat. If that's true, I'm telling you they're choosing to do that. Brian and Kim, am I wrong about that? No?
You are not wrong.
Okay, if they're standing up to eat, then they're choosing to stand up to eat. There's plenty. I am telling you, they're not even going to the brand new room we built for the cafeteria. I will show it to you after this. It's gorgeous.
They'll get their food, they'll stand at the little counter, buy the food, and then they'll go to the gym.
Because they don't want to sit down because they want to go in the gym as fast as possible. Come to lunch. Come. Security cameras.
That would be so fun if you came to lunch, you guys.
Thank you, David.
Oh my goshers.
6th grade. Well, 6th grade have the same schedule as 7th and 8th grade. They'll have a similar schedule, but their schedule looks differently. Yes? Is that the right answer?
Start and end at the same time, but there are fluctuations in travel and stuff.
It'll feel a lot more like what it feels like at 6th grade at the elementary, with some tweaks to it, for sure. Okay? Okay, I'm going to take a couple more. Rotation, grades. Yes, they'll have recess. 6th grade's going to have recess. They're going to have physical, PE. All that stuff will absolutely be happening. We'll actually be bringing in some new equipment for PE for those guys as well as for recess. Once built. Will the campus be built all at once or over time? I don't know for sure yet. We are definitely going to build the outside shell of it right now all at one time, but there might be some pieces and parts we might have to pick and choose from. That's what they're working on right now. The secondary campus will be sold, that most likely for that, and we're trying to get an overall. And how does that impact the funding? That'll be either will reduce the amount of mortgage that we have to pay, or some of that will potentially go into the foundation part of that. Just depends on how much we raise. So I think we've seen an estimate. We're hoping to clear about $10 or $11 million from the sale of this property is what we would hope we'd clear from this. Okay, I just keep reading things from lunch line, so I'm going to have to go look at the lunch myself. I have been in there. I mean, nobody really wants to go to a middle school lunch, but I will go down there again. Do we partner with specific Christian colleges and any of the Christian colleges, university across the country? We absolutely do. We have a partnership with NNU. We have a partnership with Grand Canyon University, which were both of my boys are, just so you know, a little advertisement. We partner with Arizona
Colorado.
Christian University, which is also down there. That's a new partnership.
And Colorado Christian.
And, of course, my old stomping grounds, Colorado Christian University, those ones. Now, I wish they would send us more Christian teachers. That was a little conversation Tabitha and I had too. I'm going to yell at them. I'm going to Colorado in the morning. I'm going to yell at Colorado Christian. Say that again?
Trinity in Chicago.
Okay, thank you. Is there a board member who represents teachers? The answer is every one of them, but they're not, we don't have a teacher that's a board member. If that answers your question. If I need to answer that differently, let me know. Does the lack of turnout for the meeting tonight reflect weakness of culture at our school? I don't know. Do you guys think so? Of course they did, because people don't want to come. And they want to come because it's convenient to be able to live stream it and just be a part of that. I don't think it's a negative thing with culture. 3 years ago, this might have been full because everyone was made they had to come.
Yeah, so we had this kind of attendance at lots of previous,
Yeah.
meetings and years. And so one of the ideas was to incent families to come by giving like $400 discounts. It's like, we were giving away a car or something like that. So that has not. This is common.
We do record this and we'll send it out afterwards, but I don't want to live stream it because I want to give people more people excuse to stay at home instead of being here. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a sign of our culture, guys. It's true about almost every event that we offer. I would say this to you: every time we do a training on internet safety, how many of you guys show up? 6. I mean, that typically is what we see. So unless it's a sporting event or something where people get a cheer and there's popcorn, that is what we see. I don't think that's a negative reflection. I see that, and that's been true in my experience for some time. And because, guys, we're all busy. And we're like, unless they're going to say something that's crazy or there's really something bad going on, I'll get it in the memo. So I think that's probably it. All right. That's all I think I got most of them. If I missed your question, we'll stick around here for about 10 or 15 minutes. Again, I have to get up early, so I'm not going to stay till 10 o'clock or something like that, okay? I thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for being our partners in this. I hope you guys felt, at least from me, on behalf of the leadership team, we really want to work hard to continue to make Coal Valley the place that Jesus wants it to be. So we're impacting kids day in and day out. Again, if there's any other questions you have, please come up. Let me pray. Jesus, thank you for the night. Thank you for the parents that did come and be a partner of what we're doing here tonight. Thank you so much for their faithfulness. Pray that you would continue to have your presence here at the school and that you would be glorified. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys again so much. Have a wonderful night. Tell your friends we will send out the recording. Oh, we'll also summate the questions.